Okay, so the Torch would say this: the infighting between Vince Russo and the Jarretts has picked up again. And boy, listen, we've talked about this in code a little bit, but I think you and I have talked about it like damn near a decade later. This is '03. Quote, there's been a lot of talk that some of Russo's allies have approached Panda's Dixie Carter to complain that the Jarretts are cutting the legs out from under Russo by heavily editing his material. Russo continues to write the show, which the Jarretts eventually edit. Russo has become frustrated with the amount of editing that the Jarretts have been doing to his work, and those in the locker room who are aware of the program are said to be split in which faction they side with. One of Russo's main complaints is that the Jarretts edit anything that takes heat off of Jeff, whom Jerry has told wrestlers he sees as the Dragon Slayer, with the top heels as the Dragon. Russo is also upset that the Jarretts base their opinions on how the Nashville crowd reacts, whereas Russo feels the company should worry more about the national audience than the local crowd. Russo and Jeff have been friends for a number of years, but those close to the situation say it's about to reach a boiling point and are questioning whether the friendship can survive if the situation isn't resolved soon. As of press time, there was a lot of talk that Russo was planning on giving his writing duties in the hopes that the shows would suffer without his input. Meanwhile, there's also talk that Russo will return as an on-air character shortly. I mean, listen, we've talked about this for a long time, and I've asked you before a question that we probably don't have to repeat, but I know you remember it about Vince. When did you know that this was the case, that perhaps there was some back channeling with Russo's quote unquote allies in Dixie?
When did I know it was the reality?
Yes.
You had it. I mean, to what degree would be the real question? Because I had no idea the persistence. But when you look, whether it's talking to Vince or Glenn or Mike Sanders or Raven or, I mean, even Dixie or anybody around Dixie, when you start hearing the questions that are asked, you go, okay, there's an agenda here. You know, that comment that was made that, and I can remember, bro, you can't listen to this audience. And I would think, what audience are we supposed to listen to? Because how are you going to you gotta listen to the national audience. Okay, how are we going to hear that online? Look, and yes, but the small sample group, and we are listening to them, but it's like you don't listen to the people that actually are coming to watch the product.
Right.
It baffled me that you can't listen to this audience, and that was kind of a running head scratcher. But it was obviously a discussion, and then to add again, Dixie's a year, not even a year, kind of into the wrestling industry, which would be, and look, as I kind of look back on from time to time, especially in these early years, the compassion comes out because it's like her set point on the industry from day one was Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett, but then over here you got Russo and then Glenn, and then just it was such kind of a hodgepodge of differing opinions. But I just referenced a second ago, for sure, one of the things that me, Vince, and my dad agreed on is we got to create new stars. But then that was reported that we didn't agree on it. What a mess. But I knew weekly on the questions or comments that were made that there's kind of a different agenda here that they're really reading into, and Vince being frustrated at all the edits. Well, was it his show or our show? You know, just a simple fact that he's upset that the boss is making a decision. None of that ever made sense. And look, again, more was made out of it on the sheets than the reality most of the time. But there was a lot of drama, unnecessary drama that went on backstage. But look, that happens every week at every television show.